So it's a while since I've done a video, and the last time I did one, it was to go along the newly rebuilt Douglas Promenade and on the Harley Davidson, which we can see here in the garage. This is Roxanne, and she's very easy to get a leg over, as you can see. Now, I also made a video a while ago with my yellow BMW K1200R, which was a fantastic motorcycle called Izzy, but I decided after having her for about 2 years that she was actually a bit too sporty for me, because I'm an old fella, and I always felt as though I was riding on her rather than being a part of the machine. And also, I don't know, but it felt too much of a sporty riding position for me. I felt as though I was leant forward too much and that my feet were too far back and the pegs were too high. So I always felt a bit scrunched up on the bike and, like I say, very much riding on it, sitting on top of a machine. So I decided after 2 years, 2,000 miles, COVID, that it was time to get something else, because I do enjoy motorcycling when it's nice and sunny and warm, ideally. Definitely a fair weather part-time motorcyclist. So I decided it was time for a change, and so please welcome a new addition to the fleet. The yellow one's gone, so the K1200 is gone, which was a fantastic bike, 160 odd brake horsepower, 170 miles an hour, far too quick for me because I'm useless on motorbikes. So I thought I'd get something which everybody told me I ought to get. So please welcome, this is Beata. Obviously she had to have a name, and being German, it ideally wanted to be a German name. So this is Beata, named after Beata Usser, who was a Luftwaffe supply pilot in the Second World War, delivered Luftwaffe aeroplanes, all sorts of aeroplanes, up to including the 262 jet. So she had a very distinguished service in the Luftwaffe during the war, and then afterwards set up a chain of sex shops in Germany, which is nice. So I thought that that was a perfect name for my motorcycle. We'll just have a quick look round her. Beata is a 2006 BMW R1200 GS motorcycle that would be familiar to anybody that knows anything about motorbikes. This is the I think the GS range first started with a completely air-cooled, horizontally opposed boxer engine. I think that the exhaust valves are oil-cooled on Beata, yes, because at the front there, that's an oil radiator. So there is an element of oil cooling on Beata. But she's just in great nick. I mean, 2006 motorbike, obviously been well looked after by her previous owners. The only trouble, it is absolutely impossible for an old fella my age to, yeah, it is completely impossible for me to get my leg over. So I did think about that, and I thought that could be a bit of a deal changer for me, not being able to actually get on it. But then I watched an old Western, and John Wayne doesn't get on horses from the ground. He actually sort of, you know, sticks his feet in the stirrups first and then throws his leg over. So I think I'm going to have to adopt that. Now, luckily the bike's got a centre stand as well as a side stand, because I expect that putting all my weight on a foot peg while it's on the side stand, I don't know, it looks fairly substantial, but yeah, it looks very substantial. I don't know whether or not it's a good idea. So I'll probably in future use the main stand when I'm getting on and off the bike. But let's fire everything up. And I've not ridden the bike. It's the 1st of January 2022. I've had the bike for just over a week now, and it's been in the garage because it's been raining or wet or nasty. and it's still a bit damp, but it's at least it's a nice sunny day. So very windy, but then so am I, and so we'll take her for a ride. Well, we'll go down along Douglas Promenade and see whether or not the waves are coming over the tops, and then come back. So we'll just have a gentle bimble today to get used to the motorbike. So I've apart from a very short test ride, which is probably over a month ago, I've not been on the bike at all. So she's got 24,691 miles on her at the moment. And this is my very first ride as her owner. Let's see how we get on. Well, this is a very different riding position to the K1200, and I'm afraid it's something that is possibly inevitable with increasing age. That we look for comfort rather than speed. It's definitely going to take a little getting used to this bike. Because after having a straight 4, having a Boxer twin is a very different experience for me. A bit hazy, we can see Douglas ahead of us, but it's all a bit hazy, you can't really see the bay, which is a shame. I'm going out on the bike tomorrow because I'm doing the Institute of Advanced Motorists motorcycle course. Because I'm the first to admit that I'm not the best bike rider in the world, I decided when I had the yellow bike Izzy that I really needed some instruction, some further instruction. So as a member of the IAM, I did the thing in the car years ago, and it was very useful, so I thought, you know, if I can, I'll do it on the bike. So I signed up to do it, and I'm in the middle of doing that at the moment. So I believe tomorrow morning I'm going out for a bit of observation. They don't call it training. I assume that's some sort of an insurance liability that they can do without. So for want of a better word, instructors are classed as observers. Well, I'm not going to tell you all the great things about the BMW GS, because if you've got one, you'll know all about it, and if you're thinking about getting one, you've probably researched it to bits like I did, watched dozens of YouTube videos about it. But I will just say this, that the K1200, I think it was quite a long bike, and so it was very good at going straight, but it never felt particularly sort of chuckable. Now that's maybe not a bad thing for, again, a fella my age. But it always felt a sort of a bit of a big heavy bike, whereas this feels incredibly light by comparison. Maybe it's the riding position, the fact that you've got nice wide bars that are high up, and that, you know, your seating position just seems a little bit more commanding. I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that it's the Boxer twin, which keeps the centre of gravity on the bike low. But once you're on the move, I mean, obviously it's a big heavy bike, but once you're on the move, it just feels remarkably light and easy to ride. And I'm a big fan of the telelever, paralever suspension, so it means you can sort of really lean on the brakes without the front end plunging too much under compression on the forks. So that's a clever system. The K had that as well, and I always really quite liked it. I am sort of leaving this in the lower gears. On the K, I don't know if it had a lot more torque or what, but even at low revs around town, I'd usually try and get up through the gears, because it really would pull in 6th gear from 30 miles an hour without any hesitation. Whereas on this, and not because I don't think it'll pull, but it seems happier in lower gears. I don't feel the need to be sort of rattling through the gearbox quite so much. Heated grips, what a godsend. I'll have some of those. Hi, thank you. This is a 2006 bike, like I said earlier on, and it's not got ABS. And the dealer that I bought it from said, yeah, that's actually a good thing, in that the ABS is great until it goes wrong, and it often did on this age of bike. And when it goes wrong, you're into a huge repair bill, or you effectively shut off the ABS thing and blank it off and all that. So on the basis that it wasn't built with ABS, then that's a good thing. I think the only extra that this bike's got is probably the heated grips. I assume that they were an extra at the time, but apart from that, it's absolutely vanilla. You'll notice that I'm being very ginger with it, because it's been raining for over a week. The road is just starting to dry, but it's not fully dry, and I really would prefer not to drop the bike. So I'm quite happy to slow down a bit. And here we are. This is Douglas Promenade. Which is probably a bit more advanced than it was when I rode the Harley Davidson down here. I have to say I do find it disappointing. It's a multi-million-pound scheme, this, and it doesn't seem to have changed much at all, except that it's got rid of some of the car parking, which is counterproductive, and we've got a big sort of pinky red stripe down the middle of the road, which is where the horse trams ought to go but don't, because they don't go the full length of the prom anymore, because that was a cost-cutting exercise. And also, it's just not it's not one of those billiard table resurfacing jobs, and they've been right down to the foundation, so that there's no excuse for it. But you know, it's not a terribly smooth surface, especially not at the joint between the red and the black. You'll have noticed this that we just passed, and here's the second one. It's a roundel. It's a shared space, so it's not a roundabout. It's a shared space, which of course everybody complained about when these things were first unveiled. But apparently I think people are coming around to the idea now. There's a huge area of undone work. Again, it's down to the horse tram tracks. I don't know quite why we're supposed to be doing 20 miles an hour along here. But we are, so. And it's low tide at the moment, so we're not going to get any waves crashing over, which is a good thing, because I'm not sure that Beata would benefit from a lot of salt water in her nooks and crannies. Heated grips work well. Just turn them down. Very toasty. And you can see ahead of me the electric railway sign, which has been there since, you know, 18 something, when having electricity was seen as being a very modern thing. The sign has recently been renewed and replaced at the cost of £130,000. And one wag on the local internet forums decided that before the next general election he was going to change his name by deed poll to Rick Railway and stand in front of that sign, which would then say elect Rick Railway. But tish. The other nice thing about this bike is that she's actually very quiet. She woofles along, whereas the K had an aftermarket exhaust on, which was at least as noisy as a race can, I think. So you actually ended up feeling quite sick with a headache. After an hour on the bike, whereas this is much more agreeable. Yes, I think I'm going to like this bike. I think Beata and I are going to get on very, very well. I don't suppose I've got much battery life left in the 2 Insta cameras that I'm using. So we're in Onken at the moment. But what I'll do is that I'll get us as far as the grandstand and then pull up. I can just about flat foot this bike, just about flat foot it, so I was thinking about having a fiddle with the seat, because I know that there are high and low settings on the seat where it is windy. And I don't know whether it's set on the high or the low setting at the moment. I'm 5'10" allegedly, so whatever. I don't need to change it. I don't need to sit any lower than this. But I do need to use the centre stand for mounting and dismounting, because it was alright getting on it on the side stand, climbing on one of the pegs. It all felt very solid, but I don't know, it strikes me it must put a lot of stress on the frame. So before the batteries die, Happy New Year. And may everybody have lots of adventures and lots of fun. COVID and Brexit and, you know, climate change and all the rest of it notwithstanding.